Hey, it's Sri here. In today's video, I'm going to talk you through how to heal if you've been on the receiving end of infidelity. Now, if you've been on the receiving end of infidelity, I know it's such a painful experience on so many levels. Not just the practical aspects of it impacting your family, your marriage, and so on, but also the emotional part of it. And I'm a real big believer that if you are going to move through this and get the best result that you really want, it really does require you to create that level of healing. And I'm telling you now that just like my clients like Angie and Laurie and Sarah and Rachel and all these beautiful women who have created such amazing shifts in their lives, I really want you to know that a lot of the shifts come when you've actually created the shifts within you first. And so make sure you watch this entire video and I'll explain to you exactly the steps that you need to take in order to create that healing on the inside. And make sure you hit that subscribe button below and click on that bell notification as well, so every week you get access to my latest videos where I talk you through more about male psychology and marriages, explain how to really heal from within, and also understanding a little bit more about infidelity and why it happens. Now, I get it. I know the pain that you're going through right now is extreme, and it sometimes probably doesn't even feel real to you. It feels like it's almost this horrible nightmare that you're just going to wake up from. Unfortunately, though, it is the reality of what's happening. And one of the challenges that when we're dealing with this sort of pain, it means that our ability to actually make decisions and move forward and serve our family and ourselves is really, really impaired. It's quite difficult to make those decisions because you're effectively in what we call survival mode. And the reason you're in survival mode is when someone cheats on you, what it does at the very core of you is it essentially takes love away. And as human beings, one of our basic survival needs is love. We need love in order to survive. And if we're not getting that love, it's almost as if that little inner child inside feels like she's unworthy of love and she's not going to survive on some level. Because like I say, apart from our basic human needs in terms of food, water, shelter, we need love. What I want you to remember is that when you're in this state, it's very normal. Anyone who has been on the receiving end of infidelity knows exactly the pain that I'm talking about right now. It is crushing. But I also want you to remember that you absolutely can create healing from this. You can create the shifts that you need to. And it's something that's absolutely within your grasp. It's not something that only the select few can do. You can do this. Which is why I've shot this video, because I'm going to talk you through the steps that you need to take in order to really heal from infidelity. The key here is we've got to tackle this in two parts. The first is we've got to deal with the actual physical circumstances that you're dealing with. And then the second is we have to deal with the internal world, the mental and the emotional side of things. Now let's just quickly touch on the first point, which is the physical reality that you're dealing with. To just sit here and say just heal on the inside would be unfair to you, because the fact of the matter is you have some practical circumstances that you have to actually manage and deal with right now. Whether that's figuring out whether you're actually going to have a separation, whether you're having a divorce, whether you're actually going to work through your circumstances and try and rekindle the spark and rekindle the connection and really make this marriage work. That is a personal decision that you need to address. Now, how do we do that? Well, I think the key is that firstly, we've got to make sure we do a stock take. I've talked about this in a number of videos, is that if we don't know what's been happening in the marriage, if we don't understand the patterns that we've been running over the years, then what happens is we're just trying to cling on to the marriage because we don't want to be alone. But we don't actually have any real understanding of how the marriage actually functioned. There's so many instances where I talk with clients and they will tell me that, their husband has cheated on them and it's crushing and all that sort of stuff. And I get it. I understand that pain. However, when I talk to them about the entire marriage and I understand and learn a little bit more about what's been going on, they'll often tell me that they've been having problems for potentially decades. Now, if your marriage has been playing up for that long, or even if it's like 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, if it's been playing up for that long, then you really need to take a good hard look as to, is this the right marriage for you? And I know that that's a really uncomfortable question to ask, but I've always said I would rather you be separated or divorced and be happy than be together with your husband and be miserable. Because, we settle for so much mediocrity in life. Relationships should not be one of them. We've got to make sure we elevate our standards. So you want to take some time to really do a stock take and go, how well have we connected over the years? How much do I know my husband at a deeper level? How well does he know me? How much am I able to just be me in the marriage? Or am I constantly walking on eggshells all the time? How well do we communicate? Are we able to actively open up and share what's going on at the deepest level? All of these sorts of questions are really important to understand what's been going on in the marriage. How has it been operating for a period of time? Because sometimes some of my clients will go through and actually understand a little bit more about how the marriage has been going over a number of years, and they've realized, you know what, I deserve better. I want to be in a happier place, and it's not meant to be with him. And I'm okay with that. I believe that that's absolutely okay. Now, I know that a number of you might be watching and feeling like that is the scariest thought on this planet, but believe me, that if that thought is coming up in your mind where that frightens you, you can heal past that. You can work through those fears and those insecurities. Because in the long run, I promise you, it will reap so many rewards for you in terms of your own internal well-being. So you've got to do that stock take first. And once you do that stock take and you really understand what's going on, then from there, you then have to deal with the actual circumstances. So if you guys decide, hey, look, I want to make a solid attempt at working at this, great, fantastic. You start taking the steps that you need to, whether that's getting coaching, therapy, whatever, in order to actually talk through your challenges and work through how to move forward. If you're wanting to learn a little bit more about how I can serve you through my Authentic Relationship System program, then click on that link below in the description section which says book a call with me, and I'd be happy to serve you and see if there's any way that I can help you to move forward. But aside from that, you've got to make sure you get the help that you need in order to move forward, because you don't want to be running those old patterns into effectively what is a new marriage post-infidelity. If you decide that it's not the right marriage for you in terms of having a divorce or having a separation of some sort, you want to make sure you get the appropriate help in terms of legal support and so on, so you can manage the necessary affairs as far as managing the kids and finances and all of that sort of stuff. So now that we've talked about the practical aspect of it, what I'm really wanting to talk a bit more about today is the mental and the emotional part. Now, the internal healing part of this really consists of three parts. The first is around responsibility versus blame. You see, a lot of the time when someone goes off and cheats, I notice a lot of the women that I speak to in the early stages start to feel like they're the ones that are responsible for it. That it was because of their anger or their failure to make him feel important or respected or significant or whatever it is that's led him to act in those ways. Now, I want to be really, really clear to you that there is a big difference between responsibility and blame. There may be a scenario where your husband craves significance, craves respect, and maybe over the years that hasn't necessarily been exercised in the marriage. However, that doesn't mean that you take the time to punish yourself and blame yourself. You can take ownership for aspects of it, but he still made that decision to cheat. So he has to take complete ownership of that. Now, the reason it's important to step into responsibility is because by taking responsibility of certain parts of it, it means that we can own it, we can get to a place of acceptance, and then we can then move forward and deal with the practical aspects of the situation, or make the right decisions, or ultimately just create healing from it, so that we're not beating ourselves up all the time. Because that's half the problem, is that when we're beating ourselves up, we throw ourselves into a loop. And that loop results in us just feeling horrible over time. And it means that we're also not able to move forward in any particular way. And that's really what I want for you, is I want to make sure that you're healing from all of this, because it is so painful when you've been cheated on. I mean, I've experienced it myself, not in my marriage, but in previous relationship. And it's such a crushing pain. So my heart goes out to you in all of this. And hence, if we take responsibility for our world, not for his behaviors, but for our experiences and maybe the things that we may have done in the past, but we don't blame ourselves for it, then it just helps us to move through the healing process a lot quicker. Whereas if you actually end up finding yourself and you're just punishing yourself over and over and over, it's going to slow everything down. So step into responsibility and not blame. Now, the second step that we need to take in terms of internal healing is we need to get to a place of true acceptance. Now, a lot of people think that if you get to a place of acceptance, it means that you're just kind of tolerant of everything and you're letting him treat you like dirt and all of that sort of stuff. It's not about that at all. What it is it's about acceptance of the circumstances and acceptance of our own emotions on the inside. See, a lot of the time when we're feeling pain in a situation, it's not necessarily the situation that's causing that amount of pain, it's the resistance to the situation that we're dealing with. So let's say, for example, you get laid off at work. Now, initially there's going to be a huge amount of pain. And the thing is that when you're dealing with that level of pain, what happens is our brain just keeps thinking about that over and over and over. Now, if you keep thinking about, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened, how am I going to pay the bills, how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that, then what you're doing is you're fighting with what is. What is that you've been laid off. But as long as we fight with what is, we step into resistance, and we all know the saying, what we resist persists. So the more that we think about it, the more pain that we experience, the more we end up being paralyzed in terms of our decision making, which means that we don't do the things that we need to do to get out of it, which means we keep running that negative loop in terms of our mind about how horrible it is and how painful it is and what are we going to do and how are we going to survive and all of that sort of stuff, rather than getting to a place of saying, I accept it, it's a very uncomfortable thing, I'm in pain right now, but I accept this pain that's inside. And as you step into that acceptance, then the beauty is that you move through it so much quicker. Because the human nervous system cannot live in pain 24/7. Even for those of you who might be watching thinking, but I'm feeling depressed all the time, I'll pretty much assure you that you're not feeling depressed 24 hours, 7 days a week, all the time. There are moments where you feel maybe a little bit of relief. You might have the odd joke that's cracked and you might find that funny. You might watch something on TV that gives you a little bit of relief or a bit of respite. Yes, you might feel a lot of depression or a lot of pain, but it's not every single moment of the day. And so why we have to step into acceptance is by allowing ourselves to just feel what we feel, to be at peace with what is in terms of circumstances. We're not fighting against the realities of what's going on, which means that we can be clear in our minds and be practical and pragmatic about the circumstances that we're dealing with. So in the example of losing a job, you're like, yep, I'm gutted, I really love that job, but it is what it is. I can't do anything about that right now. What I need to do is put my energy into where I need to go, which is, okay, where can I find new work? What are some of the things that I can do? And how can I get myself into an empowered place, into an empowered state where I can start to make better decisions and move my life forward? And I can tell you now that having that thought is going to lead you down a much better path than replaying in your mind about how terrible those circumstances are and how horrible it is and what you're actually going to do to survive. It's a totally different thought process. Now, this in no way does that take away from the pain you're going through. And if this is the circumstances or if you're on the receiving end of infidelity, my heart goes out to you. It really does. But we have to get to a place of acceptance. That's the second part of the internal healing process. Now, the third part of the process is to not buy into your ego and to connect more into your spirit. I always say there's two parts to ourselves. We have our ego and we have our spirit. Our ego is a collection of all of the experiences that we've had over the years, the negative experiences, the feelings that we're not good enough, feelings of rejection, feelings of inadequacy, all of that stuff. All of these experiences that we've had over the years. That's what we call the ego. And that ego has developed over the years. And in a lot of ways, it gets a little bit worse because if we are finding ourselves in negative places and we constantly have negative experience after negative experience, it starts to stack on top of each other. And before we know it, we're 40, 50, 60, and we just feel like life is constantly against us. Life is constantly just pushing us uphill all the time, and we're not sure what the hell to do. So that's our ego. Our spirit, though, is pure love. Our spirit is who we truly are at the core of us. But when you are on the receiving end of infidelity and you're experiencing that level of pain, obviously that is very normal to feel that. But we have to step more into our spirit to heal us through it, rather than listening to this part of ourselves, the ego, that constantly wants to bring us down and drag us down and make us feel inadequate and make us feel useless and make us feel unhappy and all of that stuff. You've got to remember that it literally is like two separate entities inside of us. You know, there are times when we feel this, and I can tell you from experience as well that there are so many instances where, you know, my ego will take over and it'll start having horrible thoughts and negative thoughts and fears and, you know, feelings of inadequacy and all sorts of things. And this is what's happened over the years for me. But when I connect in with my spirit, I then come more from a loving place. You know, I end up being more loving towards myself and others. I care about other people. I apply compassion. But when this other part of me, this ego, kicks in, sometimes there are parts of me that come out which is totally against who I am. And I have to make sure I keep those parts at bay. So we have to make sure that in those moments, like even when you're on the receiving end of infidelity, there's going to be a part of you that feels either that you're pissed off and how dare he, and just go and try and screw him completely of everything that he's got, financially, everything, the whole package. Or there might be a part of you that just feels really, really down and really annoyed and hurt at yourself because you feel like you've done this, this, and this, and this, which has led him to operate the way that he has. Either way, it's still your ego that's taking over in those moments. What we want to do is connect more with our spirit, which is in our heart, really allowing our heart to guide us. And that doesn't mean that you suddenly become a doormat and just allow him to treat you poorly over and over. Not at all. That means also that you love yourself enough in order to set boundaries, to decide on what's right for you, to really, really get clear on what exactly the next steps need to be for you. Connect in with your heart, connect in with your soul, and I promise you that healing will absolutely find you, and you will just be in the most beautiful, beautiful place, even in the most extreme circumstances. I believe in the capacity for human beings to truly heal, and you are no different. And I also know that sometimes putting these things into practice can be really tough. You know, it can be really, really difficult. And that's exactly why I do what I do. It's my mission to serve women like you, to be able to heal and to be able to grow and to become the best versions of yourselves and really heal from infidelity and so on. And so, you know, if you are needing some help, if you're really stuck and you're not sure, but you're really serious about this and you're really wanting to take your life to a new level and really recover from these challenges that you're going through, then I'd love to be of service to you. And whether that's to heal within or whether that's also to save your marriage, you know, I'd love to be there for you. And so if you are needing some support, some guidance right now, and you want to know the exact steps that you need to take in order to be able to truly heal at the deepest level, then my program, The Authentic Relationship System, might be a really good fit for you. So all you need to do if you want to see if it's a good fit for you is just in the description section below, just click on that link which just says book a call with me. Just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, and then I'll contact you at the scheduled time, just so I can learn a little bit more about where you're at, where you want to get to, and how we can bridge that gap in the shortest possible time. I can't wait to be of service to you. So once again, just click on that link, and then I will look forward to speaking to you very soon. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, make sure you hit that like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And do let me know what your biggest takeaway is from this video as well. Let me know a little bit more about the challenges that you're going through, and I'll make sure that I respond to every single one of you. And if you want to learn the signs that he might be cheating, click this video above. And if you're wanting to learn the steps that you need to take if your husband wants a separation, just click this video above. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next video.